Now, in the second of our leaders' interviews this evening, we're joined in studio by Richard Boyd Barrett of People Before Profit Solidarity, outgoing TD for Dunleary. You're very welcome. Thanks for joining us on 6-1. I was taking a look through your manifesto. Lots of eye-catching ideas. None of them costed. Why is that?
Because they're all costed in our pre-budget submission.
For 1 year rather than for 5, though, presumably?
Yeah, although some of them are multi-annual. So if you take things like the housing plan, we are looking to capitalise a state construction company using the Apple money, and then to have a doubling of expenditure on social and affordable housing every year over a period of 5 years in order to double the amount of social and affordable housing the state is building and make it actually affordable for people.
And you're one of a number of parties, I think, that are proposing a state construction company. That would be based on the Land Development Agency.
David. We were the first, just to make that absolutely
well,
clear.
thank you for that clarification.
Yeah.
Based on the Land Development Agency, I think, how long will that take to get up and running, and how many construction workers would you envisage being directly employed?
Well, I mean, I think we would be looking at something on the scale of the ESB, I mean, who have about 8,000 employees, but obviously that's going to take a while. But we can start to take on apprentices immediately. And by the way, apprentices work on site from year one. But it would make it more attractive to get involved in the construction trades and professions. With the LDA there, it's going to be phased in, because of course you're also going to be relying to some degree on private contractors. But I think when you have the apparatus of the LDA and indeed the remnants of NAMA, we've always argued to merge those, but to expand its mandate to deliver social and affordable housing, and then begin to recruit its own construction capacity, because the problem is the state at the moment has no control over what is actually built. The private developers are dictating, the prices are too high, and they're controlling and manipulating the supply of housing for their profits at the expense of people who need affordable homes.
I suppose people might say, well, there's a shortage of construction workers already, so if construction workers are diverted to the new state construction company, there'll be less private building being done.
Well, first of all, too many of them are building hotels, too many of them are building office buildings, of which there's a surplus, when the priority is to build social and affordable housing. But also, we had, I think, about 270,000 people at the height of the Celtic Tiger working in construction. We're now at about 160. So the potential to increase people
They all went
working...
back to Poland, didn't they?
No, a lot of them are driving taxis in this country. And we're also standing up for the taxi drivers, by the way, who are being threatened with deregulation at the moment. And I want to say we want to stand up for their livelihoods too. But a lot of people left because of the crash, and they thought this is not a secure form of employment. We want to make working in construction a secure employment, a decent career, and that would attract young people back to work in construction.
Another idea that other parties are also talking about, I don't know whether you were the first or not, is talking about a 4-day week. Other parties are saying they'll study it, they'll run a trial or whatever. You're saying you'll introduce it. How would that, without workers losing any money, how would that work, and who would pay for it?
It would pay for itself, because any serious study that's been done on introducing trials of 4-day week or the introduction of 4-day week show you raise productivity. I mean, one of the biggest problems at the moment is workers being extremely stressed. And actually that impacts negatively on productivity. But if you improve the quality of people's lives without losing income, then it's going to feed back positively into the productivity of those workers. And I think that is absolutely the right step to take when you just think about stress and mental health and all those things which are really, really impacting on working people, the problems of commuting, the stresses of all of that. To introduce a 4-day week, I think, would pay for itself through higher levels of productivity, but improve the quality of life of workers. OK, let's talk a little bit about government formation after the next election. Obviously, that'll be on people's minds when they go to the ballot boxes. You say you want to be in government, but in a left-wing government, you won't deal with Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael. Are there any other parties you won't deal with? Would you deal with Labour? Would you deal with the Greens? Yes, but we think they should rule out making the mistake that they have made repeatedly in the past of being props to Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. That has destroyed them, frankly, done extreme damage to their own parties, demoralised their supporters and created huge cynicism in the electorate where they vote for change, they vote for something to the left, but they end up with a return of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. And by the way, in this current election, I would make a last appeal to all of the parties on the left to make that commitment now that they won't prop up Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, because if you leave that option open, what you're doing is you're telling people it's inevitable Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are going to return to power.
Yeah, but
people deserve a change. We've had 100 years and they deserve a clear alternative.
But Sinn Féin would say it's up to the people to decide and they'll deal with the numbers afterwards. So
I think the vast majority of people who are voting for Sinn Féin or voting for left parties are not looking to see Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael return and dominate with the same old politics. They're looking for change. And I think it's incumbent on the left to offer them that change rather than just prop up parties who failed us on housing, on the cost of living, on the quality and funding of our public services. That are forcing so many of our young people to leave this country because they feel there's no future. That's because Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are of the right. They back the interests of big business and speculators and vulture funds. We need a left that stands up for workers, for young people and for the vulnerable in our society.
Richard Boyd Barrett with People Before Profit Solidarity, thanks so much for joining us.